Hello, and welcome back to the long-awaited return of me ranking Megami Tensei stuff. I have to say, I really didn't expect to be away from it for this long, and I'm surprised as any of you that it's taken me over a year at this point to revisit Persona 1, but here we go. So last year, I went over all 9 initial Personas in Persona 1, and I remember being pleasantly surprised at how high most of my scores were. I gave out a lot of A ranks and S rank, and I stayed mostly positive. Well, today I'm taking a look at the 9 ultimate personas of Persona 1. As always, my rankings are based on a plethora of personal factors, like if I enjoy the design, if I think the persona is interesting to the story, if I'm in a good mood, or if I recorded this on a Thursday. Is today Thursday? I don't think today is Thursday. The point is, if my opinions differ from yours, that's fine. Oh yeah, and much like with the initials, most of the personas in this game don't seem to have official artwork, or if they do, I haven't seen much of it. So I'm mainly basing my thoughts on the in-game sprites, or with supplementary material like the manga. Alright, so with all that out of the way, let's get funky. Once again, we'll start off with our protagonist, and his ultimate persona, Amin-Ra of the Emperor Arcana, or just Ra in Revelation's persona. So, I've always been a little torn on this one. On one hand, this is a pretty cool looking Pharaoh persona. I do really like the use of gold and blue, and I think it's a lot better than some of the other depictions of this figure in the franchise. On the other hand, I just don't think it's as good or as memorable as the protagonist's initial or third tier persona. Like, it's fine, and I do love that its unique spell, Hieroglyphine, only exists just to deal massive damage to the final boss. Amin-Ra he's overall good, he's fine, I don't really love or hate him, but I like him well enough. I'm gonna give him a B. Next up is Maki Sonomura and Verdandi, or Valzante in Revelations, of the Priestess Arcana. I briefly mentioned this in the last video, but I always thought it was really weird that Maki's ultimate persona is the Norn of the present, her third tier is the Norn of the future, but her initial wasn't the Norn of the past. I think that would have made Maki's line more coherent throughout and been a lot more interesting, but I digress. Judging Verdandi purely on her own merits, I'm just gonna go C on this one. I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but it also doesn't really do anything to impress me. Now it's time for Masao Mark Inaba, and the first of the many times we'll see Susano-O in these videos. Alright, and he's Demo in Revelations. This is one of the only instances where I was able to just find, like, actual artwork of one of these personas, and I want to know why I can't find stuff like this for every other persona. Like, that actually bugs me. Anyway, in the last video, I kind of critiqued Ogun for not feeling like he was properly designed for Mark. I do think Susano-O is a step in the right direction there, so I'm gonna give this one a B. Now it's time for the #1 man in all of Japan, and if you don't believe me, just ask his cravat. It's time for Kei Nanjo of the Judgment Arcana, and Yamaoka, aka Alfred! Now, in Persona 2, Yamaoka would return to being the Hierophant Arcana, but like I mentioned last time, I am only judging things in this video based on their Persona 1 related appearances, and frankly, this dude rocks. Like, for real, Yamaoka has an awesome design, a memorable presence in the story, and such a unique connection to Nanjo that I think works really well. If I were to ever go back and redo my top 10 personas list, this guy probably would have been on it. I honestly don't know why he wasn't the first time. So deservedly so, S rank for Yamaoka. Alright, so now it's time for Hidehiko Brown Uesugi, the man who crapped himself, and his ultimate persona, Tyr of the Justice Arcana, who I guess was called Darkside in Revelations, which I guess is cool. I just kind of realized I've never used Hidehiko in Revelations. So, this is a design that actually confuses me. See, I always thought this guy was like a superhero design. Like, he's got the muscular blue body and the white cape, and I always thought his head was supposed to be like this big brass helmet, almost like the Juggernaut. And totally honest, if I were to rate it on that conception, I would probably give this design a B, maybe even an A. However, in the manga, Brown's persona is just Tyr the demon from, like, other games in the franchise. Like, he's even holding the axe that his persona doesn't even carry in the game. So, like both designs have the metal hand, which I think is really cool and a nice touch. But yeah, if this is what the persona is supposed to look like, I'm gonna go with a C. And this is why I wish we had artwork, because I don't really like the idea that I more strongly prefer what I think I see in the game. But like I said, if that is how it's supposed to look in the game, I'm gonna give that like a B. Then there's Eriko, Ellie Kirishima, and Michael, or Saint Michael, of the Judgment Arcana. Unlike Nanjo, she's actually supposed to be here. So, let's rip this band-aid off right now. Eriko is the only character who actually changes ultimate personas between 1 and 2. So, I guess even Atlas thought this guy was not the best pick for this character. I think it's a fine design, though. I do like the bright red robe, and the spear fits because it's Michael. He's got this mask in the manga that I really like. Again, it's nothing too fancy. I will have better things to say about her Persona 2 design, but for now, Michael, I think, is just going to get a C. Alright, so I'm about to get very petty here. So, quick recap. Yuka Ayase is my favorite Persona 1 character. I love her. I loved her initial Persona. I gave it an A rank. I'm even tempted to bump that up to an S rank retroactively. I really like that Persona, and I think it's very fitting for the character. But to talk about her ultimate persona, Freyr, or Flare, of the Magician Arcana. So a few years back, I did a video on my top 10 worst personas, like my least favorite personas of all time. And I had this guy at number 3, claiming that he was just a guy with a stick. And I don't know how I ever let him get away with being number 3. This guy sucks. He is my least favorite persona ever. Like, he should have taken that number 1 spot without competition. This is a bland, garbage design that wouldn't look out of place in a Majin Tensei battlefield. I keep hammering home that he's just a guy with a stick, and the reason I keep focusing on that is because the stick is honestly the only even remotely interesting thing to talk about here. This pathetic persona has less charm and personality than a literal piece of wood, and Ayase deserved so much better. Any party member would deserve better than to have this guy as their ultimate persona. This is the worst persona ever. F tier. F minus. F minus minus. Okay, moving on. Yukino Mayuzumi and her ultimate persona, Durga of the Empress Arcana, or Dorga. Okay. So this one, yeah, it's pretty good. I really don't have a lot to say about this one. It's honestly just a pretty solid design. I'm gonna give it a B rank. And our final persona for this video is Reiji Kido and Mot, or Mondo, of the Death Arcana, which actually makes Reiji the only non-protagonist party member to change arcanas between initial and ultimate personas. I know earlier I mentioned that Nanjo does, but like I said, they changed that in Persona 2, so I'm not counting it. I will say, for a persona that's just a coffin, they did make it pretty unique. I love the sprite animations on this thing. Like, you've got the eye, and the fanged mouth, and even that snake. It's pretty impressive that they made what feels like a rock slab have more charm and personality than that freaking guy with a stick. Funny enough, the manga depiction of Mot has the little demon guy inside that we all know from the other titles, even though in Persona 1, the coffin never opens. It is interesting, it's a neat little take on Mot. It is very fitting as a persona for Reiji, I'm not gonna lie, but it is still kind of just this slab, coffin. I'm gonna go C rank on Mott. It's just kind of fine. Alright, and there we go. All of the ultimate personas in Persona 1. So, back when I covered the initials, I was surprised how positive I was, and thought I'd give it a lot more B's and C's. But I'm now realizing that's kinda what I did with this video. So, a Persona game where I think the initial personas are consistently better looking than the ultimates. I sure hope that's not gonna be a trend or anything. And on that note, let me know what other Megami Tensei categories you'd like to see me rank on the channel, and I will see you next time, but until then, take care.